What is up? Welcome back to the On The Burst podcast. I'm your coach, Brandon Savage, and I'm joined by my assistant coach, Big Les. A week on from the charity match. How are you feeling?
Mate, I'm feeling good. Body's feeling good. Had a nice rehab, relaxed day. Obviously a bit of training as well last week for footy for Southeastern. Then got on the piss on Sunday with the team just to get familiar with the boys. Monday, a bit of a massage day, a bit of a Relcho Relaxo day. Rancho Relaxo, that is the saying. But no, it was good, brah. Just chilled. What about yourself?
I'm actually still recovering from the charity match, Like, I had the week off the gym. I'm religiously get up 4 a.m. to go to the gym every morning, and I didn't go at all last week.
Wow.
I came back with time spent in bed. I spent a lot of time in bed this week. I did a light session yesterday afternoon, and I was back properly this morning. And I'm not sure if it's because of the charity match. I feel like I was sore. It didn't help that I downed 1,000 drinks that night as well.
I was going to say, you're probably more sore from the night following the charity match than the actual charity match itself.
Exactly. But, yeah, feeling good. I feel like I've got a bit of twinge in my calf as well. So, not good. The body's not feeling great, but we'll get there. And I've had some questions to come play footy for real.
Oh, yeah?
And I'm heavily considering it.
Yeah, just go for it, mate.
A reserves, and I have what?
A reserves is pretty full on. They say
is
that
it
A
actually?
reserves is tougher than A grade. So, just in regards to you get all the oldies that just want to go out and kill people. Mate, I reckon you'd kill it though. Just have a crack.
I actually watched my game back the other day.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good as I felt.
Oh, mate. Don't do that to yourself. Don't start talking yourself down.
There was 2 situations where I should have dived.
Yeah.
And I didn't dive. I could have finished off a great try. But I feel like I put myself in the right positions.
Do it.
Missed a couple of tackles. I did watch the game back with my brother yesterday, and you actually had a lot of one-on-one tackles that were you held them high and they went straight down.
Yeah, well, at the end of the week after our last step, I did actually end up getting to watch the game back. It was good. I was happy with my performance. It was good. It was good to watch it back, some of the moments in there, like the tackle. But not only that, there was these little other moments that people might have missed as well. So it was good to obviously get the game recording and then watch that back. And it was really good.
Did you get your game recorded for Southeastern? Because I don't know if you've mentioned that you're playing for Southeastern.
Yeah, so if you don't know, I'm playing for Southeastern this year, under 21s. I might not look that young, but I am. So I'm going to give that a crack. Just started pre-season a few weeks back. I think we've got about 6 weeks now to go before the season kicks off. So just getting the body ready to go.
Yeah, so if I come in and play footy this year...
you won't be versing me, unfortunately.
No, I won't be, but I'll have 6 weeks till the season starts. So I tried to play last year, and I had one training session. I just felt out of depth, like all the calls and stuff. I was like, I need more time.
Where do you reckon you'd fit? You reckon centre?
Well, last year he wanted me to play fullback.
Do you reckon you'd how do you reckon you'd go?
I think fitness-wise I'd be okay, but I really just don't want to think. Maybe centre probably is the go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see how we go, and who knows? It might end up being signed to Penrith as their reserve grade halfback.
Watch out, mate. You'll be the next Tom Jenkins or something coming out of Penrith.
All right. We have plenty of teams to get through today. We have 6 teams to preview. We've obviously pumped through it in the last 3 weeks. We've done a good job.
Yep.
We've been under time constraints, and it feels like the end of the tunnel is here. Footy is back this weekend. I'm so excited. Vegas, what are you doing for the Vegas round?
Mate, it's just going to be a Rancho Relaxo sort of weekend this weekend. Big week of work coming up, obviously in the stage negotiating contracts and things like that. So just trying to put my head down, bum up sort of stuff and get through the week. And it should be good. Just have a chill one, a few beers by the lounge and just soak in some Las Vegas footy. There's already been a bit of drama about Vegas. We sort of talked about pre-show as well.
Yeah,
so.
if you're actually on the TikTok live, you would have realised that Leroy broke
I thought
some...
I did something wrong then. You said my full name.
What's the breaking news?
Looks like there's been a bit of a rumble in Vegas. Some players that they haven't said who or what team, but they've said that there's been some players that have been pulled up for a bit of a Vegas rumble.
For some reason, I thought it was Canberra when you first said it. And
Raiders have disciplined 2 players involved in a hotel scuffle in Vegas.
Screams Corey Horsburgh, doesn't it?
Oh, look, I don't.
He's not a bad character. Like, you know how people just are relentless for getting in trouble?
Yeah.
He's like that, but he's like a straighty 180 to the law.
Yeah.
But within groups.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it's him and Ricky going at it again for round 2.
Maybe that's it. And who's the other one?
Oh, no idea. I don't want to make any accusations. I don't want to get in trouble.
Corey Horsburgh and Morgan Smithies fighting out for that number 13
mate,
spot.
what a battle that would be. Who do you reckon wins that fight?
I don't know. I reckon Morgan Smithies just puts the fists up and just defends. Corey Horsburgh probably crying.
Oh, look, I don't know. I'm not going to say too much more. We'll have to wait and see if they reveal it.
We'll wait and see. Probably by the time this is released.
What happens if Vegas stays in Vegas, I guess.
Exactly. But yeah, we have a lot to get through. This weekend, I'm actually heading to Penrith Panthers where Jim Beam is hosting an event with Levels podcast. And me and Timmy will be there. So should be a good weekend. I've taken the day off work the next day.
So fair. That's a good call from you, mate.
Yeah.
I
was going to, after the charity match, after I had the next day off, I was like, I probably shouldn't do this again in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I was about to say to work, oh, no, I can work that day. I'm glad I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm glad I haven't because I'm really keen for the footy. I'm really keen for a full day of footy. I like how you get a little bit of a break after the first game.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch all the other games that are in between. Someone from the Goanna Academy is playing at Las Vegas for the Greece side, Samuel Stratosphere. So, yeah, Flaxy is in the chat. See you all soon. Flaxy, if you're in the chat, just come in and join in on the podcast once we're previewing. All right, let's preview some teams. But firstly, head over to picklebet.com.au. Use the code TURBO when signing up. We've got some really good offers on offer this week. This week, I've got what was it? The Sharks to beat the Penrith Panthers. The Penrith Panthers have lost round one in the last 2 years. They've lost the World Club Challenge in the last 2 years. They didn't play the World Club Challenge, so I feel like they're slow starters. They're September footy players. They really warm into the season, and I think the Sharks are going to start hot. They're at $2.30 on Picklebet. I'm tipping the Sharks for the upset in Vegas. $2.30. Use the code TURBO when signing up. Make sure to know what you're really gambling with. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858.
Can I throw one on the table, mate?
Yeah, of course you can.
I reckon for the following week, the Dragons will beat the Dogs.
Oh, 100%.
They're actually the underdogs at the moment. I don't know what the Picklebet prices are looking like, but
very similar to other betting agencies.
Yeah, well,
I'll tell you, I've been in their head office, and they just they like to scope what's around, and give value where people are betting, and then they kind of skimp out on the ones people aren't betting on. So I think that's
might download the Picklebet app now, mate. There you go.
That's okay. All right. So we have a lot of teams to go through. We've got the Dragons, Dolphins, Melbourne, Knights, Roosters, Cowboys. We have a lot to get through. But once again, the weekend. Who impressed you in the trials? We're not going to harp on the trials too much because we have a lot to get through. But I think it's worth noting that I think Fletcher Sharp looked very good at 5'8" once again.
Sure did, mate. He carved up. Him and KP looked really, really good for the Knights. The Roosters' right edge defence is worrying going into round one. I thought they'd go with Marky Mark there on the right side. They ended up going with Toya. But yeah, look, they got towed up. And I thought even like with Radley there as well, like you'd think defensively they'd be a little bit more up for it on that side. But, you know, Dom Young, he's had defensive concerns. Chad's had defensive concerns. And that right edge for the Roosters just did not seem to fire a shot, really.
Flaxy's just in the chat. I cannot believe you've tipped the Sharks.
Oh.
The Roosters are worrying this season. We're going to preview them, so I guess we'll touch on them. Riley Smith for the Parramatta Eels. I think he impressed once again. Do you think, where do you see him landing?
I see him at 14. I think Joey Lussick's going to miss out, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think that'll be Hands at 9, and then it'll be Riley Smith at 14. I think if they don't do it, they're kidding themselves, to be honest. After the past 2 weeks, he's carved up. So, yeah, I'd have him there.
Big energy, brings off the bench, and it looks like...
Good service.
I've kind of looked at him through the grades, and his service has never been this good.
Yeah.
So he's definitely worked on it, and I think, you know... He just nails a couple of games.
Yep. I'm going to get Flaxy back on the good side just quickly. Trent Tolau.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. How good was he on the weekend?
So, obviously, with Jerome Luai going, they don't have a backup halfback for Cleary to come in and dominate. Has he all of a sudden solved that problem?
I mean, they've got Schneider, they've got Cole. So, those guys would probably be, I wouldn't say the front runners, but they have been the front runners in the past. Trent Tolau, though, is really carved himself a spot, and particularly when his game plan is so off the cuff and explorative and explosive. I think that he'll probably be the front runner for the 7 if Kles goes down. And I'd argue that, if Blaze Talongi maybe has a bit of a slow start, he might even be a smoky for the 6.
Well, there are reports that potentially Blaze Talongi hasn't been picked.
Right.
Yeah, so I've seen little. We do this podcast on a Monday, so you will be listening to this Monday night, Tuesday morning. We will know more by the time we do our Supercoach show tomorrow, and Big Les's podcast. So I'm sure you'll cover it as soon as you find that out. Do you do a TLT podcast?
I do Team List Wednesday. So
nice.
I obviously work on the Tuesday, have training that afternoon. So it's quite hard for me to sort of come home and get that one sorted. But I do have a Team List Wednesday podcast. So Team List, I do it on the Tuesday night. It comes out the Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. So you still get it relatively early, but Team List Wednesday.
Wednesday morning is just as good as Tuesday afternoon.
It is, 100%.
All right, let's preview these sides. Actually, one more side. I thought the Tigers looked very good.
Yes, they looked really good. Dewey at 7. Holy crap.
He looks fresh.
What about that 40-20?
Yeah.
Step back 40-20.
Nice 40-20. And it was in the middle of the field as well. It's not like he was on an angle on the edge.
When you're kicking, you obviously want a little bit of momentum in your run, a good run up. He stopped mid-stride, stepped back, and then pounded a 40-20 and with perfect, it was perfect.
It reminds me of how Nathan Cleary has nailed his 40-20s, especially in that 2023 grand final, where he just hits it across his body.
I think he's got to be at centre somewhere. And to be honest, I'd probably have him next to Luai on that left side, because he can just pound those kicks. He'd be another last tackle option. He'd help Luai with the attack on that left side too. Yeah,
well, it's funny. Galvin played left on the weekend.
It's actually funny. So he defended on the right, but he was sweeping on the left on those left side stride plays. So I think defensively he'll be on the right side, but that worries me a bit for the Tigers. Are we doing the Tigers today? No, we're not.
No, we're not. We're not.
Yeah, no, but that worries me a little bit, that they're going to conflict there on that left, and then there's not going to be enough attack going down the right.
I think Luai is the type of player that he'll probably benefit from being able to sweep both sides, because I think he might be more dangerous on the right, Luai. Obviously, he's a left foot kicker, so you want him on the last tackle being on the left side, so he's not kicking across his body. But
do you reckon they just both sweep then?
Yeah, I think so. I think it'll be more a first, second receiver type situation, and I think Benji is the perfect person to kind of experiment with this. So he might be trying to do something different. If you're on the TikTok live, ask any questions and we will answer them through the show. We're going Dragons, Dolphins, Melbourne Knights, Roosters, Cowboys. All right, let's kick it off with the Dragons. We did the Dragons preview on your podcast and I was very high on them. On the weekend, they came out and smashed your Bonnies.
I've got a different opinion now on the Dragons, to be honest.
You do?
I do. I think that they're going to be a real threat for the 8.
I think so too.
I think that they're going to be strong. The thing is, we're overexcited a little bit because they are the trials. The Dragons, they've got their full side against some lower grade sides as well. You got to remember, they're not coming up against the full strength sides for round 1, especially against the Roosters. There was a few guys that in the starting side that won't be in first grade, but very impressive. I think that I've really seen what I wanted to see out of Lockie Ilias and Flanagan. Just the role. That's all I was really wondering with the Dragons, what their role was going to be. The fact that it's not really left to right, but it's more so they help each other out where they can. And it's funny to say, you've got the 6 and 7 there, but it's Clint Gutherson's team.
Yeah, 100%.
Because he runs both sides of the ruck. He's very vocal. I like it. I think that's exactly what you want to see from the Dragons.
I did a Supercoach podcast wrap up last night, and I did a post the other day. You would have seen it, and Clint Gutherson was the front slide. Every time in Supercoach when Mitch Moses was out, Clint Gutherson was a buy in Supercoach because he just takes over that side. And I think with the halves and the halves they have, it's Gutho's side. And I think that's a really good thing because he's a great organiser of...
What was the Supercoach points for do you remember?
He got 93. Yeah, pretty good points. And obviously, I'm not sure if he played 80 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
Did he play 80?
I don't think so either, no.
Yeah, I don't think he did. So... it was quite impressive. And I think he's going to be in maybe the Dally M Team of the Year. I haven't actually put him there, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. If they get enough wins and make the 8, then, he could be a smoky for the Dally M.
That's the next podcast. I'm not giving anything away on that front. But fuck, he's going to be a real good watch this year, especially for Supercoaches, by the way.
Maybe. Fullback is such a stuck position.
Yeah.
We've got in the TikTok chat, do you think the Eels will make the 8? Have a listen out for our predictions podcast on Wednesday. It'll come out Wednesday.
Yep.
And Lord Notorious, we need Sky Racing on the TV, lads. We probably do.
You know what we need? We need the Sports Shed TV charity match replay highlights.
Yeah. For the Dragons, one thing that is a worry for me is their halves depth.
Yep.
They don't have much. They had a guy who filled in there last year who played one game. He looked okay, still in their system, but they lost Jesse Marski. They could have used someone like Ronald Volkman, right?
Yeah.
Their halves depth is very worrying.
It is a little bit. I really liked the look of Cade Reid. Came on, I think he was number 23. He would have been 21 the week beforehand. He put in that kick for Nathan Lawson. Nathan Lawson batted it back, it went forward, and then Cade Reid scored that try 2 weeks back for I forgot who it was against now. But yeah, Cade Reid, he looks good.
Dogs.
Still quite thin.
Dogs? No,
Roosters.
Yes.
He's a gun. I really like the look of him. He's still quite thin. I don't think he's ready for first grade yet, but I think that if he needed to get called in, you can do a lot worse than a guy like Cade Reid. They've got that Lycan King Tozier as well, that guy that filled in last year.
Yep.
They don't have Lomax this year either, and he's Mr. Versatile too, where he can just hop into these sort of positions, which is a little bit worrying as well.
Do you think if Gutho's like running the team anyway, he just goes in at 5A, or they just plug someone in there like, I don't know, to put Tyrell Sloan at number 6 or something like that?
I think that Gutho will be that guy that fills in.
Yeah.
I think that he's going to be like, he won't be the halfback, but he's going to be vocal like a halfback.
Exactly.
And then Ilias and Flano will play like 2 5/8 sort of thing, running the team. I guess Lockie Ilias a little bit, but it will be Gutho's team.
I was a bit disappointed with Lockie Ilias on the weekend.
Yeah.
I think he had a few mistakes early on.
I didn't mind him, to be honest.
A bit nervous, but
he came through great as a 6. I think people forget that. He did come through great as a 6. Blake Taff was actually the halfback in that Rabbitoh side. So not too many people realise that, or choose to forget about it. But obviously looking at him in his South career in first grade as a halfback. But yeah, look, I think that you got to give him time. Obviously coming into a new side after a pretty hectic injury, his tibia was completely stuffed from that tackle from Freddie Lussick in reserve grade. So coming back from a hectic injury, he just needs a bit of time to sort of get used to his role. It's very unorthodox, the role that they're playing. The 2 halves playing left to right, coming in and helping each other on little sweep plays, and then you've got Gutho as that main vocal guy. It is quite different to what you usually see. So I think you just got to give a guy like Lockie Ilias time. But I was okay. I was okay with his performance. I thought that he did well. I think that it's exactly what you would expect, especially, as I said, it's Gutho's team. Gutho was the most vocal guy there. I think Gutho had some mistakes as well. He threw a ball out in the full, trying to throw a cutout pass. So, I think that there's a few things that they need to figure out. I'll tell you what, though, this Sione Finau, mate, 4 tries in the first half. He obviously had to come off due to heat stroke. He
was on fire.
He was on fire.
It made sense.
100%. But look, I like the look of him, and I think that he might be a shot for round 1, to be honest.
I think so too. Obviously, Christian Tuipulotu and Tyrell Sloan could potentially be those wingers, but I don't know. I think he looks fresh. He looks like he fits in that side. He looks like the combination with Val was very good.
Yeah. The fact that they've named their full strength side and Tuipulotu hasn't been there, I think suggests that it is going to be Finau. I
also think if someone like Tuipulotu kind of works in a side that doesn't have much strike power, where the yardage is very helpful, but someone like Finau with that X factor, I think really helps.
Good finisher, especially with Gutho. If those two can build a little combination, that's going to be insane. Just off kicks, off last tackle plays, sweep sets. He's a great finisher, so Finau, I reckon, will be the go. And Supercoach, he's like 300-something K.
279. So he's pretty much going to be a must-have if he is named. Moses Sully, I think he's more suited to the right side, and I'm excited to see him go out this year. I think he potentially does have a breakout year. He's been on the scene for a long time. But I like their outside depth. They had Fiene on the wing. They've got Tyrell Sloan, who didn't play in the starting side.
What's your read on him? Do you reckon he gets the spot?
I don't know. I thought he was going to start at wing, but obviously he's had to work for his position. Fiene looked pretty good, to be honest. So I think I'd probably just yeah, I don't know. I think Sloan makes an impact at some point.
Yep.
Maybe Flanagan's just giving kick up the arse.
Yeah, okay, right.
But they've got depth there. I think it's very good for them. Their forward pack is pretty good, bit of depth, and it looks like they're getting Clemmer.
Love the look of Emre Gula on the weekend. He stood out to me.
He's a good player.
Real strong. And he suits that starting mould as well too. Him and DeBellin just carved up, and that's the reason they looked so good for the most part on the weekend.
Tell you what, I don't mind DeBellin back at 13 as well. I know Tom Eisen, who did a very good job last year, but for me, Jack DeBellin created that original number 13 ball. Big body, good ball playing 13. I think he was the foundation. He lost 2 years of his career, but I think he paved the way for these guys like Yo, Carrigan, and Cameron Murray to really have a platform. He obviously hasn't kicked on when he's come back, but he's still been pretty solid.
Yeah, exactly. Super solid. I like the look of the Dragons this year. As I said, mate, I think that they could be a real side that pushes for the 8 again. I think that they'll be very similar to last year.
We've kind of been saying where we think all these teams are going to land in every other preview, but we hadn't actually done our ladder yet. We're going to do our ladder, and it's going to be released on Wednesday. So let's not kind of say exactly where they want to be. The Dolphins.
Fins up.
Fins up. I think...
Fins down, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. The Dolphins I'm not very excited for this year.
I think it's going to be a similar year to last year, except I think what will hurt them is this headache of the spine. That's what's going to hurt them the most. I think that I think Wolfie... Parts of the game for the Dolphins look good, but that game against the Titans, fuck. What do you do?
Rough. It's pretty tricky for the Dolphins because they're pretty much like their best 17 is pretty good, and I feel like they have a crack. But as soon as any injuries come in, their depth is tested straight away. Like I feel like they got good juniors coming through, and they do have promising young talent, but in my opinion, it's just not quite the standard that they're looking for. And I think a lot of players overachieved in the first 2 years. New franchise, obviously, Wayne built that foundation. I think they will want to prove something this year, and I think they will overachieve to some extent, but overachieving for them is potentially 13th, 14th.
Yeah, look, I mean, you told me not to say the ladder position, and you've just done it then.
I've put them lower, to be honest.
All right. Yeah. Look, I'm really worried for them. I think that, as I said, this spine decision is going to be really important. I don't know. I'm 1 week I was very happy with Averillo in that trial against the Cowboys, and then the following week, he just looked like he was just a lost dog or mouse. You know what I mean? Like he looked like he didn't know what his role was. Yeah,
I think that's kind of been Averillo's career to a T nearly. Like, obviously, he got put in halfback by Trent Barrett, was it? Was it Trent Barrett or was it Dean
I think it was
Pay
Barrett. It was Barrett at that stage,
Yeah, Barrett. And I don't know. I feel like he lost a lot of crucial years.
I'm just going to say it right now. I don't think he's a half.
I don't think he's a half.
I think he's a utility.
I also don't think he's one of the two best centers at the club either.
Yeah, I think he's just a utility. He'll come off the bench and play wherever. But I even think like in their best 17, if he isn't a center, he isn't there.
Yeah, 100% agree.
But you know what the scary thing is, mate? Out of all the guys that have played in the spine and had a real crack in these trials, if I was to pick a six gun to head right now, if it's not Nicarima, it's Kurt Donahue.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And that's heavy. With this whole preseason and all the talk around the six jersey and it being Averillo being the rumour, for him, to have two really interesting weeks where the highs are high and then the lows are really confusingly low. Whereas Donahue's come out and he's played fullback, he's played hooker. I think he had a little stint in the halves, but he's been the shining light for them. And even in this game on the weekend, he was the shining light again.
And to be honest, if they played Donahue at 5'8", what have they got to lose? Like, if you put a Cody Nicarima there, that's got a shelf life of 1 or 2 years. Sean O'Sullivan, same thing, 1 or 2 years. You put a Jake Averillo there, it's a plug option. It's not a long-term option. I think someone like Kurt Donahue, just give it a go.
Came through the grade as a 6 as well. 6 and fullback at Newcastle.
There you go.
So he'll I think that if he gets that opportunity, he'll carve up. Even for Fiji, mate, like that, those 2 games, he was insane. He played halfback in those 2 games as well, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a gun, mate. He just needs a good, solid opportunity, which he hasn't had yet at the Dolphins. If he was to get put in that 6 for the first 8 rounds, he would do a job.
Yeah, 100% agree. Shout out. Danny and Blake are in the chat once again. Blake, got to thank you for giving me this advice to go live on TikTok, because upping my TikTok live game, I think there was no other way I was going to do it. We've got, who are the 2 by Chop, 213 Chop? Who were the 2 Canberra boys that got into a scrap in Vegas? Everyone wants to know.
No idea, mate. I haven't got that goss yet. Hasn't come up, but if I do get it, I might break it.
Yeah, no worries.
I might break it. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. What's the best balance for their forward pack? We saw Max Plath on the weekend start on the edge.
No.
Weird, eh?
No. Look, I liked it when they scored that try. It looked good. But other than that, no. I think it is a middle. I think, but I also think, like, you talk about shelf life. I think that there's only a first few weeks where he can be at 13 starting, and then I think he's just going to get bashed. I think it's not going to be like last year. I think you got to have him at 14.
14?
And he comes
Tom
on.
Gilbert?
No, Plath. I'm talking about Plath.
Really?
Yeah, I think Plath will start at 14. You'd have him coming off the bench and playing that middle role, save him from those first 20 minutes. Similar to the argument that Rue makes about Jack Bird. I agree. I think it's the same with Plath. I don't want him to get bashed. And especially at the start of the season,
I guess
fired, ready to go.
Because he does have no regard for his body.
No, he doesn't. Like, he's too tough for his own good. He's like Kurt Mann, but he's not like the shape of Kurt Mann. He's smaller.
He's bigger. He's thicker.
He's thicker, but he's not like, I don't know. Kurt Mann's just an aged dog. He just goes after everything. Like, but Plath's like a little. I'm not going to say that, but he's just, he's not at that stage of his career where he can just let his body go like that. I think that you've got to have him at 14. Comes on, still plays the same role, plays around 60 minutes, but I just want to save him for that first 20. Maybe you chuck a Gilbert there, maybe you chuck someone else there, Kafusi, whatever you want to do, for that first 20, and then move those other guys into middle roles and have him coming on in that roaming 13 role for the last 60.
You don't think Tom Gilbert playing up front with Max Plath at 13 is the best rotation for them?
I think that you'll still have that rotation. What I'm sort of alluding to is the fact that you'd have Plath at 14, you'd maybe start Gilbert at 13, and then Gilbert moves into the front row, you move Plath into 13, and Plath still plays that same role just for 60 minutes, not 80 minutes.
Yeah.
Is my sort of thinking.
Yeah.
Sort of, does it make sense?
Yep. Danny and Blake. It must be just Blake.
Yep.
Plath has to be the 13.
He will be the 13. This is what I'm saying now. He will be the 13, just not for 80 minutes and not for the first 20 minutes. I think that he'll be for that last 60-minute stretch. He'll be the 13.
Yeah.
I just don't think you can start him.
Yeah, I don't mind it, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've disagreed on a lot of things in this podcast.
Yeah, I know. That's a good thing.
But it is a good thing. I just don't know where I sit on it in terms of, I think he's a talent and you've got to have him on the field as long as you can. But I get the point of trying to save himself because you don't need him on the field for 80 minutes.
Imagine that first 20 minutes of a game, he gets absolutely flogged and gassed. And then, you're trying to use him for the rest of the game to get a bit of momentum through the middle and leg speed. And he's just wounded.
Who's the type of person that you want on the field? So say there's a HIA in the middle.
Yep.
Very early on. Plath is the guy you can just go to and say, you can play at 80. Maybe just the predetermined plan is, Plath, you're playing 60. We're going to take you off 10 minutes before half time.
Maybe later in the year.
Yeah.
Maybe later in the year he can play the full 80 there. And he can play 80 like we've seen it. I just think that first 20 minutes, you take him out, you save him from getting absolutely bashed from the forwards of piping hot, ready to go.
Yeah.
And then you get him on around tired forwards at 13 with the ball playing for the last 60. I reckon that's the better way to go.
Well, I guess it's not the problem. Him on the edge is the problem, in my opinion.
I don't like him on the edge. I think that's the dumbest decision I've ever seen.
100%. They've got so many edges that can fill in there. They've got Fini Fuaku who's come in, Lemuelu. You can play Kafusi and Bromwich on the edge if you have to.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're much better for the edge than Max Plath. And Max Plath could play Origin this year, but he's playing on the edge.
Yeah, 100%. He's a middle for sure.
Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
Melbourne Storm. Everyone is tipping them for the premiership and to finish number 1 minor premiers because of the impact of Stefano.
Yeah, well, look, his first game against the Warriors was interesting, to say the least. Just didn't make an impact. Second half stint was better, but first half was just really poor. This past week, his most recent game was a lot better. I feel like he had a lot more of an impact. He came off the bench, did a really solid knock there. Yeah, I'm confused with Stefano. I just don't want it to be like last year, where his highs are high, but his lows are low, if that makes sense. I want him to have a happy medium where he's consistently a 7 or 8 out of 10.
I think that's what they'll be striving for with Stefano.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, like everyone's really high on this signing. I think the talent is there, obviously.
Yeah.
But he's the kind of player that just doesn't look hungry.
Yeah.
And you don't think so?
Look, like I think on his day, he's a sensational front rower. Like he's
I think so. I think so too. But he doesn't look like he wants to be.
It's tough to say. I understand your argument. Yeah, it's a fucking tough thing to say. But yeah, look, I get it. Like there has been games you look at him and you go, fuck. Like if you just wanted to go that 10% more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that sentiment. But like the way you said it, I was like, oh fuck.
Do you think someone like going over to Melbourne? It obviously can be an attitude shift, and that's the thing we're hoping for.
Yeah.
Do you think someone's attitude can change completely
100%.
like that? Like he was in a bottom tier side and they, he could have easily dug them out of that, but he just looked like he was more further down every time they lost.
Anyone can change under Craig Bellamy. I think that he'll obviously look at those trials, take a few notes from his game, especially against the Warriors. Like as I said, the Warriors game, he started, it wasn't too much of an impact. The most recent game, though, I think is definitely the Stefano that you want to see. A lot more involved, plenty of carries off the bench. He played big minutes. That's the Stefano that I want to see. I think though with the Melbourne pack, and this might be a big call and sue me, but I think that Stefano isn't really the front rower to watch in this Melbourne pack. I think it's Josh King.
Josh King.
I loved Josh King last year. I think he had a super underrated year. Obviously coming over from Newcastle a few years back, really slow, sort of developing into that Melbourne culture and system. But last year, like him and Trent Liero, through the middle, like those two were just insane. Defensively, very strong. Those last few games leading into finals, they were just a force to be reckoned with. Look, I'm going to save my prediction for Josh King for the predictions podcast. It'll probably blow a few of you the way, but yeah, I think that Josh King will be the guy to watch in his pack, not Stefano.
Yep.
It wouldn't shock me if Stefano starts on the bench.
So Stefano is obviously the dominant forward in that pack, but Josh King's going to be kind of like the Mitch Barnett was to AFB, where he just went underrated for so long.
Yep.
And then just all of a sudden he's playing for Australia.
Yes.
Maybe, you think he's going to play for Australia?
I'm going to save it for the predictions podcast, mate. I'm saving it. But I think he's going to have a huge year, Josh King. Him and Liero, I think will have massive years for sure.
Just over on the TikTok, we've got a influx of people watching. I think Danny and Blake must have shared our thing or something.
Fantastic.
65 people watching.
Fantastic.
Very good. In 2025, the fall off of the Panthers. Says TNCM.
Fall off in the sense I reckon they won't be first or second.
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be too much of a fall off though.
You got to wait for the predictions
podcast, guys.
Which we will be recording in tonight. So if you are on the TikTok, you'll see very soon.
Or if you're in Revesby, head down.
Yeah. Reese M, he looks too calm.
Who looks too calm? Me?
Who looks too calm?
Me? I'm fired up. I'm ready to go.
Trip N, Ben Hunt for Daily M.
Ben Hunt? No. Sorry. No.
Scott Erskine, Munster or Brown?
Munster or Brown? Munster will have the better year, but I think Brown's in for a huge season too.
I think both of them are going to have really good seasons.
Yeah,
Munster looked very good.
That's a tough
Munster
choice.
looked very good on the weekend. I think Munster was an issue, and that leads us to our next topic for the Melbourne Storm.
Yep.
What's the long-term plan for Faalogo and Wishart? Do you think that's going to be... Obviously, this year, if we're looking at this year as a whole, it's good that they've got them in their system, but is there going to be pressure from outside there?
This is where you sort of sit back and you look at both of their careers and where they could go. Tyron Wishart is 26, 27, I think. He said that he's at that real crossroads of his career. He's like getting into the peak of his powers, right? He obviously played a lot of time for St. George. You just didn't know what he was going to be. He comes over to Melbourne and, at this stage now, he's probably one of the best utilities in the competition. He's, obviously there's a lot of talk about him playing Origin in that utility role. So you need to sort of sit back at Tyron Wishart, as Tyron Wishart and go, do I want to be a utility at the Melbourne Storm or do I want to be a halfback at an NRL club? So that's going to be the decision we'll have to wait for Tyron Wishart when he comes off contract next. I think he only just recently re-signed, by the way, Tyron Wishart.
Yeah,
last
I think
year,
he did too. So did Jonah Pezzett as well.
Yep.
So Jonah Pezzett, you can put in that conversation as well.
Fa'alogo is different because he hasn't re-signed yet, I don't think. So he's sort of the one where you sort of sit back and you go, for Fa'alogo, am I ready for first grade yet? What can I learn off Ryan Pappenhausen before I do look to go to another club? How long is that going to take until I am ready to be a first grade fullback? Those are the questions that I think need to be asked of Fa'alogo. I reckon Fa'alogo won't be at Melbourne in the next 3 years if Pappenhausen stays, but there's a real possibility that Pappenhausen leaves at the end of 26.
I think there's a good chance as well.
Yeah.
I think he's in doubt to start round 1 this year, which is it's going to be the story of his career, and I think Melbourne are going to weigh up whether
That's worth it.
spending $900K a year on him or get a Fa'alogo for $500K, potentially $600K if they're lucky.
I think he's on $750 now.
$750? I think
That's
pretty good.
I think they've downgraded him a little bit from the injuries.
Yeah. I think he can get a lot more elsewhere, but what's your thoughts on Pappy?
If he so I think, and this is what I've said to a lot of people. Like you look at his injury, over the past 3 years, and you go, "Fuck, he's had a terrible run." But the thing that people aren't taking into account is that they've all been hard tissue injuries and not soft tissue. If it was back to back soft tissue injuries, you look at a medical retirement realistically. But it's been all hard tissue injuries. He had the broken kneecap. He's had a broken ankle. They've all been like hard tissue, broken bone sort of thing, right? And these injuries aren't really reoccurring injuries. These are sort of things that don't happen again and again and again, whereas soft tissue injuries do.
Yeah.
So in that sense, you look at Ryan Pappenhausen and you go, okay, maybe this isn't as bad as what it seems with Ryan Pappenhausen. So I think it's just a waiting game for Melbourne.
Yeah, 100%. Fa'alogo, do you think the pressure is worth it with Fa'alogo? Because in my opinion, I don't think he's ready. I think his timing at fullback is just a little bit off.
Yeah. I think that there's so many great things to Fa'alogo's game. You sit back and you watch him as a spectator, the footwork, the speed, some of his decision making is quite good, but he still has a long way to go in regards to being a consistent first grade fullback, in my opinion. So I think that it will be interesting to hear his thoughts when it comes to the crunch time, obviously when he wants to discuss his contract. But it wouldn't shock me if the Raiders or Bulldogs or a Tigers potentially even pay upwards of $800 for him.
I kind of like the Raiders, what they've got, Kale Weeks and Chevy Stewart. So I don't know. There's not many clubs. I feel like most clubs are set for their fullback. The Bulldogs, I agree potentially, but I don't know. For a Fa'alogo, he's not like an elite talent that could really push a side up from.
Tell me this: who would you pay more for, Fa'alogo or Lehigh Hopewade? No Manly bias.
Well, Jesus, I think you're only going to get Manly bias because I'm saying Lehigh.
Yeah, probably Lehigh.
Mainly because he is more versatile, and I guess it depends who you are. Like if you're Penrith Panthers, how good would Lehigh be for your side? Can fill in at fullback, plays on the wing. I don't know. I just think the versatility of being on the wing. I think elite wingers are just as good as, maybe not just as good as elite fullbacks, but I don't know. I feel like there's only a certain amount of sides that the fullback is genuinely up for question.
Yep.
Like the Titans are locked in, for example. The Dolphins, are they locked in to a fullback?
Hammer, unless he goes to centre, yeah. Well, Trey Fuller's there. He's 28.
Well, I guess with the Dolphins, that's always the question. It's because Hammer is so versatile. If they landed a gun fullback, then... But I don't think Fa'alogo is better than Hammer at fullback.
I don't think Fa'alogo yet is better than Trey Fuller at fullback either.
Neither do I. I think Trey Fuller would have nearly played fullback this year.
I think he would have played fullback this year for sure. So, yeah, that's going to be the question for both of those guys. I think that with Fa'alogo, He's just not ready yet.
Yep.
Whereas Wishart, I think that if he wanted to, if he went to the market, he could get good money to go to another club and be a halfback. Like, for example, if Manly decide to part ways with DCE, I think that Wishart could go there and be a halfback for sure.
Halfback. Oh, yeah, probably a halfback.
Yeah.
I think he's pretty versatile. He could sign at a club as a number 9 as well.
Yeah.
Potentially. So,
I think his best work's done at 7, but like I think that the trials, put the trials to the side. I think that you like that was separate for me. I don't think that's what his best can be at halfback.
Yep.
But there's some games that you've just seen, particularly when he stood in for Hughes in the finals. There's that game against the Roosters to get into the it wasn't to get into the GF, but it was to get into a prelim. Yeah, they wouldn't have won that game without Wishart.
Yeah, I think his best work is at number 6.
Year 6?
6.
Okay. Well, that's the good thing about Wishart too. Like,
yeah, well, exactly.
you can have so many discussions about having him in different positions. So
there would be people that argue number 9, like kicked 40-20s out of 9 last year, who actually not many 9s in the competition can do that.
Just one more thing before we move on. How much would you pay for a utility? If you were to sign Wishart as a 14, how much would you pay as a club?
It depends who you are, and depends on the circumstances. But like in a perfect world, if your roster is set, say you're Melbourne, you don't have a Wishart. What are you paying for him? $450.
You see, I reckon if I was like not even a struggling club, but if I was a club that needed a grouse utility that could just cover a bunch of positions, and particularly with how good the 14 and how important the 14 jersey is in today's game, wouldn't shock me if you pay $600 for a utility.
If it was the Dragons, who don't have depth in their halves, I think easily $600, because you've got their backups are not probably
I reckon
ready
any club
for
would
first
pay
grade.
$600 for Wishart. But
Yeah, but if you've got like someone already there who, like Manly Sea Eagles, I guess you've got Jazz Tavanga who can fill in a couple of positions. You've got Ben Trebojevic who's already in the side that can fill outside backs at the time.
Yeah.
But then again, Manly Sea Eagles also, their halves depth isn't as heavy as a lot of other clubs.
Well, I mean, they've got Wakeham back. They've got Arthur. They've got James Walsh from rugby.
Yeah.
So they're not too bad.
Joey Walsh.
James Walsh.
Joey
Walsh.
Joey Walsh.
James Walsh is the Dolphins back row. By the way, that's a watch too. What's this?
Oh, no. No space. What? I deleted everything. Oh, no. Can Melbourne beat Penrith on the big day?
That's an interesting one, mate.
No, let's move on to the 9. No, I'm kidding. Can they? Obviously they can.
Yeah. I think that they can. I think that they will, to be honest. I think that, obviously not to give too many spoilers for the prediction show, but I reckon that Storm will win the grand final this year.
Oh, Jesus. You've taken away half of our episode for the next one.
Sorry, mate. Sorry, brother.
All right, let's move on to the Knights. The Knights look pretty good in trials, to be honest. What's their best halves combination? I think that's the number one issue. I think Fletcher Sharp has looked really good at number 6. I think, to me, he's locked in. He's a piece of that spine that is a threat.
Yep.
Who's the number 7, though?
So back to Fletch. This is sort of what I was saying with Avarillo. You had 1 week where, he was decent in attack, but defensively there was a lot of concerns there. Second week, only had 1 missed tackle, had a blinder against the Roosters, just really exploited that right D for the Roosters side. But, if the Roosters' defence was solid on that right side, do you think that it's the same game? I don't know if it is.
Well, I think a lot of sides in the trials have kind of been wall-pulled by teams going 70% rather than 100%. There's teams that are going 100% because they're fighting for positions. And Fletch Sharp is someone who wants to play in the middle, play in the spine. So he's, going 100%, whereas the Roosters, they just need time on the field, really. So I don't know if that defense, it is concerning when defense like that happens, but I don't know. It's still a bit concerning, and I need to see it in an actual game time.
You know what I've actually noticed as well with Ponga and Sharp, and maybe because Ponga's obviously played in 5'8" before and he's familiar, but on their sweep sets, on their arrow sets to the left, Fletcher Sharp runs the fullback line out the back, and KP actually runs the 5'8" line in the line. When they're spreading, I don't mind it. I think if it works for them, it works for them. But I've just noticed that when they spread to the left, it's actually Fletcher that runs the fullback line out the back, and it's KP that's actually in the line playing that 5'8" role.
In my opinion, the best way to go about that is probably have the halfback sweeping. If you want to get them both involved in a backline play and one playing out the back.
Yeah.
Although, actually, I think Ponga having his hands on the ball, whether to run or pass out the back, is much more dangerous. But having the half sweep both sides and then having Fletcher Sharp sweep out the back on the left and Ponga sweep out the back on the right just makes it simple just for now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're working with combinations and just seeing how things work out now. So you can't blame them for that. I want to see how they come out round one. But yeah, there's multiple ways you could go about it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what they do go for. But look, back to your question, mate. Fletcher Sharp is definitely the 6. I think that the thing that he needed to work on was defence, and one missed tackle against the Roosters is pretty damn good. I think the 7, it seems to be Cogger because they were going to trial Gamble, and he got ruled out.
It looked like he was going to get locked in too.
Yeah.
Like, he was named in the second trial. He was rumoured to be the halfback in the preseason.
Yeah.
But Cogger's played both games, and I think Cogger's been really good.
He has been good. He started well. I think that he's just played a simple game, and similar to what we said about the Dragons, this is Callum Ponga's team at the end of the day. So I think that Cogger's recognised that. He's almost taken a little bit of a backward step, and he's almost playing like the second receiver to Ponga and just doing what Ponga wants in the direction that Ponga wants, which I think is good.
Yep.
It'll be interesting to see if that can work for a full 27 rounds as a halfback. But I don't mind it, mate. I think that this could work for them.
100% agree. Do you think with Leo Thompson leaving the club next year, are you worried for their middle situation?
I'm worried for their middle situation now, to be honest, with Leo Thompson there.
Frizzell's moved to the middle. I think that plugs a hole.
What's going on with Adam Elliott? He re-signed for 2025. So what's he doing? What's going on with him?
Obviously, we haven't seen the round 1 teams yet, so hopefully he does make it inside.
But you think in that full team that they named on the weekend, he'd be there in and around there.
Potentially.
Unless there's an injury there.
Potentially.
I mean, he wasn't in All-Stars either, so you could argue that maybe there is an injury.
Could be an injury. I really like Tyson Frizzell in the middle. I think he brings leg speed, but even Tyson Frizzell and Adam Elliott being really good number 13s or could be in the front row at a pinch. Yeah. They still need a bigger body that steps up. Jacob Safidi scored a double on the weekend. Maybe he finally steps up.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've liked Hetherington's impact off the bench. Jack Hetherington, I thought that he's been okay. I think that he could fill that role. He's aggressive. He's a mongrel. He'll come on and just really have a solid work rate off the bench. Yeah, but it is interesting. I mean, they've got that Cody Hopwood. He's not really a big body, but he can provide leg speed. Matty Croker at 13 was good. I thought that he played really well. He was actually in this third trial. He played at 13 to start the game, so I didn't mind him either. But yeah, in regards to that big bopper alpha, Leo's that guy. But as soon as Leo walks out the door, you do sort of start to get a bit worried as to who that guy's going to be. They've
got a pretty good roster, don't they? Like you look at their edges, Lucas and Kai Pearce-Paul, they're good edges.
Lucas is going to have a huge season this year.
Love Lucas. I think he's such a weapon. Yeah. And he's so versatile too. He can move it. He's kind of like what Ben Trebojevic to be.
In the first half of that trial, he ran for 111 metres with 4 tackle busts.
Yeah. Crazy. He's like Terrell May in the second row. He's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's that sort of impact guy. And, started his career as a winger, came through the grades as a winger, and then beefed up, and obviously now he's one of the better back rowers, one of the better young back rowers too. And I reckon 2 to 3 years he plays Origin.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's that perfect type of Origin mould for the future. He's very hybrid. The outside backs are very good too. Gagai, Best, Marju, James Schiller. I think James Schiller played pretty well on the weekend. But yeah, I think just for me, it's their middle forwards and just making sure they keep the halves pairing pretty good. I like that they brought Fletcher Sharp in. Just keep it like that, and however they go, they just keep the side together, then they'll be better for it next year.
One to watch will be Sebastian Sewer. He's been very, I wouldn't say quiet, but compared to some of the other front rowers, he hasn't really stood out as much, but his debut was great. Other than that, obviously getting sent off in the first 5 minutes of his debut. He's a good player. I'd keep an eye on him, Sebastian Sewer.
I haven't seen much on him. That was so bad.
That was dry as, but I'll let it slide, mate. It was good.
Obviously, we'll say where we think the Knights are going to end up in the next episode.
Yep.
But I think they're going to struggle this season, but I think if they get it together, they're probably a threat for the 8 if they really click.
I don't say it this year.
We'll talk about it next episode.
We'll talk about it.
The Roosters tipped to miss the 8. They always underachieve with a star-studded roster. Could the less impactful players in the side just simplify everyone's role? And could they overachieve this year?
No. Just watching Chad Townsend on the weekend. No, like this isn't even a criticism on him. I love Chad Townsend. I think that he's a great halfback, and you got to like give him credit where credit's due. I think he's a real good player. Nice little ad there on the TikTok live. Apologies. I think he's a real good player. I think that he just obviously struggled on the weekend. Just not the best output from him. Made a few mistakes, just a few weird decisions as well in attack. I looked at Chad Townsend as the guy to come in and add a bit of structure and just calm the guys down, similar to what Cronk did when he came in for the Roosters as well. Just really calm things down, add a bit of temperament and structure.
Very similar players.
Oh, well, look, I wouldn't go that far, but just like similar impact was what I thought was going to happen there with Chad. But I don't know. He's just seemed to have really gotten to that hybrid Roosters style of play, and I don't know if it's what they need right now.
He's a big team culture guy.
He's a big team culture guy.
Big team culture guy.
Yeah.
Starting his own podcast, so maybe his mind is somewhere else.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like I think that I haven't said it when he signed with the Roosters. I think at the end of the year he's probably going to go with Triple M or someone and just do media. I think that's probably the way that he goes. That's his next few years set up for him. But I think that I want to see him just get back and simplify his game a lot. Definitely needs to work on his defence because that right edge D we spoke about on the weekend, that trial was disgusting. Like, there's no other way to put it. It was bad.
And, like, one of the main reasons I think the Roosters are going to do pretty bad this year, there's no one that is breathing down his neck right now. Like, he has to be the guy.
Yep.
And their depth, I went through their top 17, and they had 4 or 5 players available outside their best 17 that were able to come in and do a job in their top 30.
Do you reckon Zach Docker-Clay might be a shot to come in?
He's not currently signed with the squad, but probably not number 7, but maybe...
He's the development guy, so I think he was in the 30 last year, but he only just got signed before the All-Stars game in their development list, I think.
So does he come in, potentially play big minutes at 9, and maybe Watson goes into 6?
I wouldn't put Watson at 6.
I like Watson in the middle.
I think Watson will probably play 80 minutes. He'll start at 9, he'll move into lock, and he'll just play the full 80.
Who comes in at number 9? Docker.
Yeah, Docker.
That'll help with their middles for sure.
You know what? You actually reminded me. There's a really good number 9 that played in the trials, 14 for the Roosters, Ueli.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he looks the goods.
Hamlin?
No, he's like Samua.
Yeah.
Samua Ueli. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He played 14 for the Roosters on the weekend. I've got no Wi-Fi, so that's going to be fantastic. But he was outstanding on the weekend. Really, really strong. Got through a ton of work. His ruck recognition and just coming out of 9 and being an absolute pest. I think that he could be a real smoky to make first grade, mate. I really like what I've seen from him. I'm going to get up his name right now, so I've got it here. Just bear with me with the data.
I think anyone is a real shot to make first grade this year. If they show any signs of being a first grade player, then they've got to play this year. Realistically, what's the goal for the Roosters this year? Hang on tight till Walker and Brendan Smith come back. Even when they do come back, the rest they've got no squad.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find this.
Like their middle forwards, Jared's gone, Terrell's gone. They've lost so much depth. If someone gets injured, they're all gone. Yeah,
it's really concerning for them. I'm a little bit worried for the Roosters, just to see if they can sort of hang on. They've got Lenu gone for the first week or so now as well. He got suspended from that. He got sin binned in the first 2 minutes of that game, which was pretty hectic to see. But yeah, there's even talk about Spencer Lenu leaving the club, which I've just come across the Sabo.
Yeah. I think that's a real possibility, to be honest. Does he fit in with the club culture like Terrell May didn't? I
think he's what they need at his best. Just that mongrel that will get through work, inspire the boys around him through the middle. He's what they need. They just need him at his best.
He's not a starting number 8 though. Like he needs to be off the bench.
Yeah, 100%. He's not that starting dude. He needs to come around tired forwards. Bit of a smaller body, but he's tough as anything, and he'll put in a ton of work for you. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with Big Spence. But
what's their goal this year? Like what do they do? Are they gunning for an 8 position?
The goal this year has to be to make the 8. The Roosters are in the premiership business. They can't look to fold out of the 8. I mean, you look at that year, was it 21 or 22 when they were bashed with injury, had a few ACLs.
21.
Yeah, 21. They still managed to make the 8 and go deep into finals. So that's the goal for the Roosters. It's just to do that. Could be Tedesco's second last year, give or take. I mean, you got to just rip in, have a big year. Tedesco not playing Origin or having the worry to play Origin this year, I think is going to be super helpful for them. But yeah, look, I'm concerned for the Roosters. We'll talk about it in the prediction show, but I don't have them going well.
Yep, neither do I. And the last team, what a slog this has been.
Perfect, mate.
We've really had to really rush to get this out, but we're tackling the deepest topics here. Cowboys, middle forwards, aging, huge worry.
To be honest, mate, I've loved what I've seen from McLean. He's done exactly what they've needed him to do, just be that tough, aged front rower, battler. Like, people forget he was in the Origin squad 2 years ago.
I think you need players like that, but you can't have too many.
I wouldn't consider Taumalo an aged forward. I mean, he's battled with injury, but I wouldn't consider him an aged. Like, he's 28, isn't he? 28, 29?
Yeah.
So, like,
I guess when people are battling injury, they're aged, right?
I mean, you look at Kurt Capewell at the Warriors, like, you can make an argument that he's
my age.
He's just struggling at the moment. So, but yeah, look, going back to the Cows, I think that injury in the middle is going to be a huge thing for them. Cohen Hess coming back from a pretty big injury was pretty underwhelming in their recent trial. I think that they just need to keep Taumalolo on the field for as long as possible. Same with Cotter. I know that he's going to be out with Origin. That's just inevitable, but I think that they've got to keep him on the field for as long as possible. But it certainly is a worry, mate. Aging forwards, I think it is a little bit of a concern.
I agree. Who's their halfback?
Duffy.
Duffy.
It seems like it's Duffy for round 1, and from what I've seen from him in that trial, he
looks good. He looks good. And I guess kind of like the Roosters, I mean, they probably can make the 8 this year, the Cowboys. They are the type of side that can go on a run. Drinkwater is their ponga, but I feel like Cowboys have more.
Yeah, look, I think it'll be very dependent on their stars, keeping everyone on the field.
Yeah.
And, just making this halfback jersey work. Who is it going to be? And sticking for it for a long period of time. Picking and sticking. It's what I've said with a bunch of teams in these previews. But I think that they've just got to, whoever they go with, they've got to back that guy for at least 8 weeks.
Yep. And I think this is the case with their outside backs as well. Kyle Felt has left the club, which is a massive hole for them. And I think he was someone who was probably an underrated loss.
Yep.
They've filled that spot with Braden Burns, who's been in the gap, been around the stocks for a long time. And I feel like putting someone who's just a bit more experienced than all these younger guys.
Burns was outstanding on the weekend.
Yeah, and he's been really good every time he's filled in. I'm so glad he's getting a shot. I think that's the right decision instead of filling your backline with just rookies who haven't played a full season of rugby league yet. So, to be honest, has Braden Burns played a full season of rugby league yet?
Yes.
For the Rabbitohs?
No.
Like
it's a good point.
He's been pretty injury prone. This could be his first full year in rugby league, and he's 27 years old.
I know that's crazy to think about, but he's got talent. Like,
he does.
I think he could really start to make a career for himself here at the Cows. He'll definitely be one to watch. I think Laybutt will be one to watch too if he gets a crack. I think that he'll be one to watch coming back from ACL. I'm not sure as to when he's back.
Well, he's ready to go now. I think he's just been a bit slow in returning.
Yeah.
Just a bit slow with his training. Hasn't quite hit the ground running. But
I don't mind that either.
It looks like they'll put him back through Queensland Cup and then bring him back into the first grade side, which I think is a really smart move.
Yeah.
Like don't put him into the side if he's under injured cloud. Yeah. We saw Hectic Fred at the Sports Shed TV charity match.
Oh, bruh.
Actually, we'll find out this afternoon whether
I think it is an ACL.
Yeah, I think we all know that. But poor Fred.
I know.
But the Cowboys, I think they'll struggle a bit this year. But the trial yesterday, good signs.
Yeah, real good signs. I saw bits and pieces. I was out at the pub, unfortunately, so it was a bit of a KO mini job. But from what I saw, like they looked a lot better than they did in the previous week, especially since they had a lot more first graders in the side. Duffy will be a watch. He topped every stat for Q Cup last year other than line breaks or something. You'll have to double check that for me. But he was great.
Yes.
He was great last year in Q Cup. He's ready for first grade. Clifford will be a watch when he comes back from injury, if he does come back in. But I think if Duffy plays well enough, he probably won't, to be honest. And Supercoach-wise, fucking he's a goldmine.
He's going to be a gold mine. He's in my Supercoach side. But that is it for the preview. We pumped it out. Oh, my God.
We're battlers here. We're battlers here on the burst.
Here. It feels like we probably started a week too late, but that's fine.
You should call this show On the Back Fence.
Off the back fence.
Off the back fence.
Well, I feel like that's already been
something
that's named, although On the Burst is very
On the Burst is pretty good, yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. This week in the Supercoach Experience, we have a podcast dropping every single day. So that'll be Monday night, Tuesday night for the TLT for Vegas. Then Wednesday, we'll have the predictions. Thursday, we have a team reveal. Friday, we're doing a Q&A. Saturday, we've got something for Saturday and Sunday as well. So,
mate, fantastic.
It's going to be a big week. It's going
to
be a big week.
Huge week for Brandon Savage. Can't wait.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Later, guys.